KBLA Talk 1580. Happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580. Your voice, your community, your power.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm particularly excited about today's show, as I am just about every show that we do here on KBLA Talk 80. What an amazing news day. The White House is in absolute chaos over revelations of things said about the President of the United States by the Chief of Staff to the President of the United States, Susie Wiles. She has, well, more than suggested that working with the president is like working with a person on addiction, more specifically, an alcoholic. We're going to talk about that in part this afternoon on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest on Tenacious Tuesdays is Liz King, recently serving as Senior Equity Advisor Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, a position she held from 2015 until 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education that prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. Throughout her tenure at the Leadership Conference, King coordinated the coalition's work to advance equal opportunity in education and represented the civil and human rights community's positions and perspectives on education policy topics in the media, in testimony before the U.S. Department of Education, and during the course of legislative negotiations. Liz King, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always great to be here, Congressman. Thank you so much for having me.
It really is always a pleasure. You bring so much spirit and energy to our show, and we are extremely grateful. First and foremost, happy holidays to you.
You too. It is tis the season. Tis the season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's tis the season to be jolly.
I don't know about that.
But it is tis the season. Let me share with our listeners a couple of things. Liz is going to be one of our regular contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, a permanent contributor to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I'm particularly honored by that. And to Liz with her, not only with her energy, but her capacity that is scholastically extraordinary, clear, concise, and to the point. She's made for radio. And I am excited that she has decided to lend her talents to us here at the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Liz, let me ask you a question. We were just a few moments ago in the green room of our show having a little chat, and you shared with me something that I'd actually never heard, but you suggested it was a perfect metaphor. You found yourself with your green thumb planting a tree in the winter in solid soil. You said it's a perfect metaphor for what's taking place in our nation and in our world. Liz King.
Yeah, Congressman, it is, I got these new bare root trees that I'm really excited about. It's an oak tree, actually, and it's about 2 feet tall. And when this tree is done growing, it's going to be 40 feet tall. But here I am digging in the frozen soil, sweeping away the snow to create a hole to plant this new tree in, and had a moment of thinking, this is absurd. What am I doing? This is not a season of growing. This is a season of hibernation. This is a season of scaling back. And to me, it just felt like the perfect metaphor for the moment we are in right now, that now is, in fact, a time of planting new trees. Now is a time of reminding ourselves that that which we plant today, we will reap tomorrow, and that it will take years and years and years, whether we're thinking about young people, whether we're thinking about communities, whether we're thinking about new Americans. We are planting now for the future, even when the ground is frozen, even when there is snow covering the ground, even when all the leaves have fallen from the trees. It is always time to plant. It is always time to invest in the future. And I think in a moment that is so challenging. We watch the physical destruction of the White House. We watch the destructions of the norms, the disregarding of our Constitution and our rights. We have to remind ourselves, we have to remind each other that it is always time to plant, and that which we plant today, we will harvest tomorrow. And it just, to me, it felt like the perfect metaphor that even in the wintertime, in the deep midwinter snow, frosty wind made moan, right? Now is a time to think to the future, to think about what we do now for the brighter future we all deserve.
Liz, I did some research and some study about ancient Roman history, and so much of history suggests that periods of philosophy, periods of natural thinking and even humanistic thinking tends to suffer during times of war, during times of conquest, during times of instability. And it's certainly, with your tree planting analogy, it seems that you're going against the grain, that most people really aren't feeling, even reading a book, let alone philosophizing or thinking about planting trees. Maybe the only Americans who seasonally have to give thought to this idea are actually farmers who during the season are purchasing seed and trying to find the best prices for seed. They've already tilled the soil. They're thinking about the fertilizer. They're thinking about what the next crop might yield. Some of them are looking at the Farmer's Almanac and making some predictions about what the weather might be. And in this moment, I'm thinking that not only are you right, but that there are millions of Americans, maybe not in the urban areas, but they too are thinking about seasons, and they are thinking about planting, and they too are thinking about growing. Is there any possibility we can join their thinking in what the future might hold for us as Americans, meaning all Americans, regardless of their race, sex, class, or their politics, blue or red?
Absolutely. I mean, we're hearing stories of farmers who bought into an idea. They bought into whether it was racial resentment, whether it was economic frustration, whether it was the feeling of being ignored. They bought into, for example, the Trump agenda, and now are finding themselves on the losing end. We see what's happening, the deportation of the people who pick our food so that we can all eat. We see the consequences of that. I think your point about this connectedness to the soil, the source of all food in this country and all over the world, that's where food comes from. I think there's a lot to learn about what it means to come together around that. And I think your point about, persistence, and the persistence even in times of tremendous adversity, is just always an incredibly important reminder.
Liz, I'm so grateful that you're going to be a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, we are going to talk about the tumultuous nature of what is taking place on this day in Washington, D.C., with the revelations from the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. I believe our producer, Gina Towns, has a wonderful clip to bring all of us who are listening up to date, and then we will begin an in-depth conversation with Liz King. More when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I got the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
So you need last-minute gifts. No judgment. Get an extra 25% off during Kohl's Friends and Family Sale and find great gifts under $20. Like something cozy, something thoughtful, something that says you planned this all along. Yep, you're just one quick trip away from checking off the last gifts on your list. Save now at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer ends December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Malik Books on celebrating 35 years in business.
It's a celebration.
Malik Books proudly houses one of the largest African American and diverse children's books in the nation. This is the perfect time to pick up holiday reads, meaningful gifts, and to support literacy in our community. For 35 years, Malik Books has stood strong in the Black Book Revolution, uplifting stories that heal, inspire, and transform. One reader at a time. Change your thoughts, change your life. Books are the gift that keeps giving. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, congratulations to Malik Books on 35 years of culture, pride, and community.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Tenacious Tuesday, and our very special contributor today. Prior to joining the Leadership Conference, Miss Liz King served as Senior Policy Associate for the Education at the Children's Defense Fund, where she focused on school discipline reform and school funding equity. King's policy and advocacy career began as Legislative Director for Congressman Shaka Fattah, whom I had the privilege of serving with, where she advised and represented the congressman on education, healthcare, women, children, and family policies. King's education career began as a middle school teacher in South Philadelphia, and she holds a BA in government and religion from Wesleyan University and an MS in elementary education from St. Joseph's University. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Always great. Always a great time.
Gina has a clip for us on the tumultuous nature of the Chief of Staff of the President of the United States, Susie Wiles.
This just in, a revealing new interview with really the most powerful person in President Trump's White House beyond him, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, commenting and going there on a wide range of topics, it seems, with Vanity Fair in a new series of interviews, from the handling of the Epstein investigation to her assessment of the big names on Donald Trump's team. Let's get to CNN's Elena Treen, who is at the White House. There seems to be a lot in there, Elena. What is your big takeaway?
I mean, look, I've covered the president, and I've also covered Susie Wiles for years now, Kate, and this is one of the most candid interviews and stories that she's offered really from the entire time I've done that. This is incredibly candid, some of the things that she was admitting, because I will tell you too, Wiles is someone who often likes to operate kind of in the shadows and quietly. She doesn't like to draw attention to herself, and that's why I think some of what people are waking up and reading this morning is so stunning to hear about. But let me get into some of the main things that I found very notable from what Chris Whipple, who works with Vanity Fair, detailed from their conversations. One is that Wiles referred to President Trump as someone having a, quote, alcoholic personality. She also talked a lot about the vice president, J.D. Vance, someone who I should note, had this conversion that Whipple noted as well from never Trumper to a MAGA acolyte. Susie Wiles essentially said that change, that conversion has been, quote, sort of political. And she said the vice president has been a, quote, conspiracy theorist for a decade. She also talked about Russell Vought. He is the White House budget chief, but he's also, of course, one of the architects of that notorious Project 2025 conservative blueprint for the future Republican Party, something that Trump had previously, of course, disavowed. She argued that Vought is, quote, a right-wing absolute zealot. And then she also went into a number of different things. One, she talked about Pam Bondi, the attorney general, someone who is one of her closest friends, I should note, in this administration. She argued that Bondi, quote, completely whiffed the handling of the Epstein file. She also talked about how the president, who came in and offered a series of pardons to really roughly 1,000 people who were convicted for their crimes on January 6th, she essentially admitted that she had urged the president not to pardon those who had committed violent crimes on January 6th and on the Capitol attack. She also talked about how she disagreed with him sometimes when it came to tariffs, saying that she had urged him to delay some of the tariffs that he ultimately announced. And it goes on. There's a lot of other areas where she kind of talks about kind of disagreeing with him, but also ultimately her role is as a facilitator rather than, past White House chiefs that we've seen, notably people like John Kelly during the president's first administration, who at times tried to hold him back. She sees as her job trying to kind of shape what he does, but also not preventing him from doing what he wants to do. One very notable quote as well that stuck out.
Liz, in this moment, I'm saying to myself, there is someone in the White House who is trying to offer the president some advice that is either absolutely being rejected or isolated. I went back to my childhood and I was thinking about the Flintstones and that little character that used to show up and pop on his shoulder and start whispering in his ear, hey, don't do this or don't do that. I think his name was it Gazoo?
Kazoo.
Oh, it was Kazoo. Yeah, Kazoo. Liz, how much longer does Susie Wiles have left after this interview?
I mean, look, I see this a different way. I see this as an effort to create plausible deniability for some of the most shameful actions of this administration. We saw this in the first Trump administration, where you would see officials plant stories about, well, I told him not to. And it's, so much of what I've been thinking about is Hannah Arendt's book, Eichmann in Jerusalem. And this idea that, well, I was only following orders. So she knew the destruction of USAID, which has cost lives and will continue to cost lives for generations, a horrible, horrible, indefensible, awful move. Here she is planning a story about, well, I didn't think you should do it. What did you do to stop it? And so, yeah, I think we would all like to believe there are people whispering in his ear. We would like to believe the Lord Almighty is whispering in his ear saying, don't do this, don't do that. But at the end of the day, these are people with deep institutional power who have made choices. And yes, she may be feeling bad about this story and she may become a casualty. And once again, we may see somebody else lose their job because of Donald Trump. But I do think it is worth asking the question whether there is growing recognition among President Trump and those proximate to him of their own need to have plausible deniability. We know that they will lose in the fullness of time. We know that history will not judge any of these individuals kindly. And they are looking to have these stories out there when they go to write their book, when there is an effort to, bring forward. We're seeing this in the military as well. We're seeing this effort to say, well, it wasn't me. I tried to stop it. And I do worry that that's what we're seeing right here, right now. What have you done? You said you thought this was a bad move. You still have your job. So that tells us how you made that calculus.
So I'm going to join you on this journey down this plausible deniability theory. If Democrats regain control of the Congress next year, it's quite possible, in light of a wide-ranging interview like this, that the chief of staff to the president of the United States could very well be subpoenaed to answer a number of questions by a number of different committees as a result of a wide-ranging interview like this. Any thoughts on Democrats and their response to the veneer of Donald Trump actually breaking?
Absolutely. We know that there are a whole lot of people who have a responsibility to hold this president accountable. Thankfully, what we're seeing is the fourth estate. The media is showing up and doing its job. And you, congressmen, have been doing your job with this radio show and making your listeners aware of what's going on and helping people to cut through all the noise and the chaos. And yes, Congress right now has an obligation. This is not a partisan question. The Constitution is very, very clear that the Congress has a responsibility to hold the executive in check. And the fact that these Republican members of Congress have abdicated that responsibility is not justified by their party affiliation. They are failing to do their constitutionally mandated job. And we see, a little crack here, a little crack there, or recognition. Well, maybe we'll ask some hard questions. Well, the Constitution is clear about their obligation. Now, the question, the hope, is that if different people are elected to the Congress, they will fulfill that constitutional mandate. They will restore the balance of powers, and they will ensure that our Constitution is being followed to the benefit of the American people. So I do absolutely hope that what we see is a change in congressional leadership and a commitment to the constitutional responsibility described in holding the executive accountable.
Liz, let me ask a question about the other branch of government where Donald Trump actually resides and the Democratic alternatives that are being presented, or those candidates, those names that have been mentioned thus far. Have you heard anything in their platforms or their preliminary campaigns, and maybe it's just simply too early, that they are going to counterbalance what Donald Trump has done in less than 1 year as president of the United States, should they be elected president in 2028?
Well, one thing I think that is incredibly important for anyone who would seek the highest office in the land, we are seeing obviously a massive abuse of power. But within that massive abuse of power, there is an indication that the executive in our president in our country has the ability to create policy and move quickly. And we have seen with President Biden, we have seen too often, we have been told to wait. We have been told to wait. We've been told that incrementalism is the way to go. And I think now the lesson is we need an ambitious agenda. There's sort of the euphemism of affordability. And you and I have talked about there are crises in this country. The care economy is in crisis. We need to do something. We need to do big, big things. We need to make sure that people who work a full day's work should be an honest day's pay that enables you to provide for your family, to have a safe, warm place to live, to have food to feed your family, access to medical care, and access to care as you grow older, or if you find yourself in a situation where you're dependent on the care of your family. And I think what I am going to be listening for, what I hope we are all listening for, is an ambitious agenda that is committed to equal opportunity and the really true American values of equal opportunity, justice, fairness, and equality. And that's what I'm going to be listening for. And that's what I hope we're all listening for from every elected official, from school board races to state house races to U.S. Senate. And then, of course, always the president of the United States.
I'm listening for a candidate who has, with the support of the Brennan Center and, of course, you, Liz, and other think tank and thought leaders and influencers in Washington, D.C., for the 200 or more prepared executive orders that shouldn't take 2 months to pass, that ought be ready to be signed on day one as president of the United States. I really don't want to hear the lip service from a Democrat. We've seen, to what you've suggested, that the executive has a tremendous amount of power that we, the American people, have never known that they had the capacity to use. The court has clearly opened up that avenue. But it seems to me that the next chief executive has the power to wield the pardon power in a way that this president wielded it negatively. He could also wield it positively for men and women who've paid their debt to society, who don't have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to seek pardon from the president of the United States. There are dozens of executive orders at the National Institute of Health and the CDC that need to be enacted on day one. the entire vaccine committee that's responsible for what we're going through with respect to childhood vaccinations. There ought to be an executive order prepared already. And as far as I'm concerned, at any Democratic convention leading into the 2028 process, that ought to be the party's platform. Those 200 day one executive orders that restore some sense of normalcy to our government. Any thoughts on that, Liz?
Absolutely. I want to see executive actions. I want to see legislative action. I want to see regulatory action. I want an ambitious agenda. We as a country are so much greater than this moment. And we have survived, we have thrived in great moments before. And it's time to come back to that. It's time to come back to those moments in which we have seen meaningful economic reform, in which we have seen the true expansion of rights and opportunities. And I think none of us can accept anything less of the next president than a true, authentic, ambitious commitment to equal opportunity and a thriving agenda for everyone in this country.
Liz, let me ask you this question. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward, maybe just a little bit less. It also seems that the restoration of federal workers to their posts and the dismissal of these hacks at every level of the government who took office with Donald Trump when he was inaugurated as president of the United States, that their removal, particularly those who believe in an ideological bend that supports Donald Trump's movement towards, I'm just going to be candid, white supremacy, ought to be something we're ready to fight on day one in a new administration. Fire them. Get them out of there.
Absolutely. Now we need a return to the honor and the dignity of public service. Absolutely. We need a return to science. We need a return to an inclusive process that allows for the American people to have the opportunity to participate and be heard. Absolutely. We need significant reform, and none of us are going to wait.
It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is one of our newest contributors. The mind of Liz King on Tenacious Tuesdays is what you're listening to. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, Liz. See you in just a moment.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is highlighting major wins as his term ends, pointing to reduced crime, more affordable housing, and no income tax for low-income residents.
And I'm leaving back a proud record.
His dropped federal corruption case raised eyebrows, with some accusing him of cutting a deal tied to Trump's immigration crackdown. Erica Kirk and Candace Owens called their first meeting productive after a lengthy conversation on Monday. They clarified past tensions and found more common ground than expected. Kirk, now CEO of Turning Point USA, hinted there's more to come from both. And the new owner of Michael Jordan's Highland Park mansion wants to turn it into a museum. Developer John Cooper unveiled the plan called Champions Point, sparking debate over traffic and noise. Supporters say it honors Jordan's legacy and boosts the local economy. A city committee voted 4-3 to keep the idea moving forward. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A troubling season for the Clippers continues to generate more misery. They lost to Memphis last night, 121-103. 4 straight losses for the Clippers, who now have lost 8 straight at home. The Clippers haven't won a home game since October 31st against New Orleans. The loss to Memphis drops the Clippers to 6-20. If it wasn't for a 5-22 New Orleans, the Clippers would be at the bottom of the Western Conference. The Lakers are off until Thursday night in Utah at 18-7. The Lakers have the 3rd best record in the West. Luka Doncic still leads the NBA in scoring with 34.7 points per game. The Rams will not have wide receiver Devontae Adams for Thursday night's showdown game at Seattle. Adams suffered a strained hamstring in Sunday's win over Detroit. The Rams are considering resting Adams for the final 3 regular season games to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you got to make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Liz King, former Education Equity Senior Program Director for the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, a position she held from 2015 to 2025. In this role, Ms. King led the organization's work to ensure that all students are fully included in welcoming schools from early childhood through post-secondary education to prepare them for college, careers, life, and the full exercise of their social, political, and economic rights. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always great to be here. Always great to be here.
Liz, can I pivot to education for a moment?
Of course, always.
But I do want to start with electoral matters with respect to education. Are you seeing, I know everyone in the world is running for Congress. I know everybody wants to be a senator. I get it. Everybody wants to be president and only one person gets the job. In fact, it's more difficult to get a position on an NBA basketball team. It's easier to be president of the United States to become a professional basketball player or even a professional football player. That the odds that you beat a few Democrats and then beat a few Republicans and then have a contest between two people to become president of the United States, it's actually more likely that you'll become president of the United States than to be the successor to Michael Jordan. There's just no doubt about that. My question is, with all of this activity taking place at the top, Liz, do we see this same kind of activity taking place at the school board level, at the local political level, where the thoughts, the minds, the activities of our children do matter in 2026 as well?
I mean, first of all, everyone should run for something. So I think that is something I want all your listeners to hear, that if they've ever thought about it, now is the time. It is a moment. It is the need to restore democracy. And I know you're going to be talking with Barbara Arnwine, who's going to be delivering the same message about the state of our democracy. So yes, we can never have enough candidates for office, but I think you're absolutely right that we need to be thinking about all of these offices and the ways in which they shape our lives. I think a lot of us were caught by surprise when there was a organized, well-funded school board takeover a few years ago, when there was an effort to politicize and weaponize school boards, to spread ignorance, to restrict access to knowledge and learning, and to reinforce a bigoted agenda in local communities. But we have seen a refutation of that agenda. We have seen that school boards in the most recent round of elections, a lot of them return to normalcy. They return to a focus on things like, student achievement and the social and emotional well-being of children in schools, and the need to help our children learn how to work together and work across lines of difference. So I think we are seeing some enthusiasm at the school board level. I hope we will see more. I hope we will see more and more candidates. I think we're hearing a lot about the need for a generational change in leadership. And it's a great, school board is a great opportunity, a great chance to learn about what's going on in the community, and really contribute to the minds, the development of minds in your own neighborhood. And so I think we will, and I hope we will, see more people considering school board races, county council races, and all of these different elected positions that we know really set the foundation for the political environment in which the president is elected.
Liz, I in this moment, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about the world that changed after Brown versus the Board of Education. I'm thinking that it wasn't, even though it was largely celebrated, the desegregation of schools because of the historical treatment of African Americans, but it also led to the Americans with Disabilities Act. It led to a number of other critical pieces of legislation that profoundly impacted the education environment in K through 12, 12 through 16, 16 through 20, every level of the education process. It wasn't just good for African Americans and women who were attending these institutions for the first time. Ultimately, it became good for America. We learned how to play sports together. We learned how to work together. We went to dinner together. We shared experiences together. We grew as a nation in ways that we didn't when we were separate and apart. Is there any sense that the future holds a return to that level of normalcy?
I mean, first of all, the cat is out of the bag. I think we are in a really difficult moment, but let's remember that those doors have been swung open, and they may try to close those doors. They may try and shut off that opportunity. But there is, now that we know what is possible, I think we are still seeing and reaping the benefits. There is no possible way that the United States would have experienced the economic growth it did if it had continued to be so committed to segregation. Racial segregation is a losing economic proposition. And I think, what we're seeing right now is an anti-merit agenda. It is an effort to restrict the number of people who are competing for college and university spots, for boardroom roles. And I think that what we're seeing is an effort to drag us back to a time where only a certain number of people had access, where only a certain number of people were able to bring their skills and talents to bear. So I think it is a very dangerous moment. It is a dangerous moment for our democracy, but I am optimistic that the benefits that we as a nation, that we as individuals and communities saw after the Brown decision, and then all of the follow-on laws, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the way that it prohibited discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, and sex and employment, and then all of the other laws that you referenced. I think we have seen the transformative benefit. We have seen the benefit what it means when our science labs have scientists from all backgrounds, what it means when our boardrooms have executives from all backgrounds, what it means when our colleges and universities are led by individuals from all background. And there's an effort to shut that door. There's an effort to foreclose those opportunities. But I feel optimistic that we have learned the benefit of this, and we will not forget that lesson.
Liz, this is questionnaire season for candidates for public office, particularly for Congress of the United States. And I'm getting dozens of them. And I was reading this one on traditional family values. And to go back to my Fred Flintstone caveman kind of analogy, the more I read it, I concluded that this kind of Jurassic thinking has something to do with that infamous cartoon of a caveman with a club grabbing a woman by her hair and dragging her back into the cave. And when I read some of these questionnaires that speak about traditional family values, Black women in the federal government have taken a major hit by the cuts from Donald Trump. But women generally across the country, whether they are Black, white, brown, yellow, are being told to return home and away from pursuing the careers that we fought for everyone to be able to achieve equal opportunity. Are you sensing what I'm saying to be true? And shouldn't Democrats be stronger on the question of women and their rights going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, a whole lot of what is happening right now is that these white men are tired of competing with these excellent Black women. They just cannot handle it. They cannot compete on their own merit. And so what they're trying to do is close the door so they don't even have to deal with that anymore. They don't even have to deal with the fact that they are not remotely qualified for the roles they seek to hold. I think that's what we're seeing in these attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is an effort to limit who is involved in the competition, which ideas have merit, and who has the opportunity to compete for these roles. I think you're absolutely right to invoke the attack on the federal workforce. We know that our non-discrimination laws have been more effectively enforced in the federal workforce. And that is why the federal workforce is as diverse as it is, because we have never been able to match in the private sector the level of compliance with non-discrimination. And so that has meant that federal employment was more available because of meaningful compliance with non-discrimination law. And so an attack on the federal workforce is intentionally, disproportionately an attack on Black office holders of all, Black scientists and Black bureaucrats and Black secretaries and everybody who makes up our federal government and makes our federal government run. But I think your point, men in general, I think too many men are uninterested in competing with too many women as a general matter. They want there to be fewer applicants for jobs. They want there to be fewer applicants for college. They just don't want to have to compete against women. And I think it is incredibly concerning the ways in which we are seeing these efforts to curtail women's voice, to curtail women's political power, and to curtail bodily autonomy. But we know that has never, those efforts to limit rights and opportunities have never, you attack one group and it always ends up splashing back on you. And so absolutely very concerning what we're seeing in the effort to limit women and their opportunities in our economy.
It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, Liz King, I hope she'll share with us her thoughts on the unemployment numbers that were recently released. The country, the economy is in deep trouble, and her thoughts on a new priority, a new budget going forward when Democrats regain control. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Liz King.
Are you stuck in traffic? We can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580. It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play. Stopped, opt out.
Hey man, how did the date go?
I had to cancel. I don't get paid until Friday.
You didn't know that you could get up to a $750 paycheck advance with the Current app?
Where was that information yesterday?
All you have to do is download the app, see if you qualify. $750. Boom.
You think I should call her back?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Need money before payday? Current has you covered. Set up an eligible direct deposit to see if you qualify for a paycheck advance of up to $750. Get ahead with Current. Text ACTION to 323232 to sign up today. That's ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232.
Paycheck advance is offered by FindCo Advance LLC, a financial technology company, not an FDIC-insured bank. Eligibility and available amounts may vary and are subject to change at any time. For full terms and conditions, visit current.com or call 1-888-851-3177 for more information.
1 year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I gonna go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community, and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1 year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 15.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special contributor in this hour has been Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Congressman. Always great to be here.
Liz, America's job market, according to CNN, just got some troubling news. The U.S. economy lost 105,000 jobs in October and added 64,000 jobs in November. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Tuesday the unemployment rate rose to a 4-year high of 4.6%. Almost all economic reports from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Census Bureau have been delayed due to the historically long federal government shutdown, which hamstrung data collection. But the October report now marks the first time in almost 8 decades that a monthly snapshot has not included the unemployment rate. The Census Bureau also reported October retail sales remain flat, the lowest reading in 5 months. I was at an event this past weekend where Dr. Janera Walters out of Kankakee County, Illinois, was speaking about education and the state of education. And I've got this theory after hearing her speak that I'd like to bounce off of you, that the 105,000 jobs that were lost in October and the 64,000 jobs that were gained are jobs that are shifting from the way in which we are teaching children K through 12, 12 through 16, and 16 through 20 to a very different economy than the ones that we were preparing them for in K through 20. Meaning, at least from my perspective, in this AI high-tech environment, we are not training most Americans for a future that is inevitable. That education itself is not keeping up with where the job market is going. And ultimately, that can only lead to tremendous disparities in wealth, in home ownership, in savings down the road that this administration and that future administrations, this administration is not contending with, and future administrations absolutely will have to. Liz, your thoughts on the shifting economy?
Absolutely. I mean, the short-sightedness of so many of our policies. I think one big frustration I have about the jobs data we've seen today, we have not yet seen the analysis I think we need to see, which is the true cost of the agenda of bigotry and discrimination we have seen. We know that bigotry and discrimination are bad for the economy. And I think that is one of the analyses that I'm hoping to see. We know, for example, that there have been massive cuts to programs that provide economic opportunity for disadvantaged farmers, for disadvantaged small businesses. These are the drivers of our economy. These are the employers. And so I hope we see more of that analysis. But I think you're absolutely right that we need an education agenda that is about keeping current, expanding opportunity. We need to make sure that not only do children have the foundational skills of reading and math, but they are positioned to lead in the economy of the future. And, we're seeing with the student loan crisis, we're seeing with this federal policy agenda, that it's about closing doors and limiting opportunity is going to exacerbate these inequalities, exacerbate these problems. I also hope what we see is a commitment in our economy and a commitment in our education system to providing for those roles that will never be displaced by AI, which again brings us back to your point around the care economy. And we need to make sure that we have those people who are educated to help us all to care for an aging population and ensure dignity and opportunity, aging in place, for example. And I think all of these pieces need to come together. We need to make sure that people have access to basic skills that enable them to be consumers of information. We need access, the foundational access to high-tech careers, and then ensuring our care economy, that we are preparing the educators for the future. All of that, I think there's a lot of work to be done. And to your point earlier, we need to see presidential candidates who are committed to an ambitious agenda on day one that will solve these problems and really move us forward into the future while they repair so much of the harm that has been done.
There is a huge bubble of Americans that are passing through our system as we speak, who are going to change the trajectory of each of our lives. We may have the best of plans as college students, as lawyers, as doctors, as professional people, and then our parents are going to age. Something is going to happen that's going to force a change in your career, a change in your life savings, maybe even the source of your own wealth, your home, may have to be mortgaged to provide care for a loved one. There is no doubt in my mind that this kind of discussion needs to take place with national vision. With that said, Liz, I do want to ask you for a word of hope. I'm so excited that you're with us. My prayers are that you're with us for a very, very long time. Liz King, a word of hope to the top of the hour.
Even when the ground is frozen, when we plant new trees, we trust that they will grow and they will offer nourishment and shade and care for decades and decades and generations to come. So it is always worth it to plant trees in the frozen soil.
I have to remind myself that Liz is also a seminarian and a seminary graduate, so she gives thought to these very profound, reflective questions, even in the context of policy. Liz, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You know you're always here, and you're always in our hearts and prayers. Happy holidays.
I'll see you soon. Thank you, Congressman.
Look forward to it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Tenacious Tuesdays. And when we come forward, it gets even more tenacious with attorney Barbara Arnwine when we come forward. Thank you, Liz.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is highlighting major wins as his term ends, pointing to reduced crime, more affordable housing, and no income tax for low-income residents.
And I'm leaving back a proud record.
His dropped federal corruption case raised eyebrows, with some accusing him of cutting a deal tied to Trump's immigration crackdown. Erica Kirk and Candace Owens called their first meeting productive after a lengthy conversation on Monday. They clarified past tensions and found more common ground than expected. Kirk, now CEO of Turning Point USA, hinted there's more to come from both. And the new owner of Michael Jordan's Highland Park mansion wants to turn it into a museum. Developer John Cooper unveiled the plan called Champions Point, sparking debate over traffic and noise. Supporters say it honors Jordan's legacy and boosts the local economy. A city committee voted 4-3 to keep the idea moving forward. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A troubling season for the Clippers continues to generate more misery. They lost to Memphis last night, 121-103. 4 straight losses for the Clippers, who now have lost 8 straight at home. The Clippers haven't won a home game since October 31st against New Orleans. The loss to Memphis drops the Clippers to 6-20. If it wasn't for 5-22 New Orleans, the Clippers would be at the bottom of the Western Conference. The Lakers are off until Thursday night in Utah at 18-7. The Lakers have the 3rd best record in the West. Luka Doncic still leads the NBA in scoring with 34.7 points per game. The Rams will not have wide receiver Devontae Adams for Thursday night's showdown game at Seattle. Adams suffered a strained hamstring in Sunday's win over Detroit. The Rams are considering resting Adams for the final 3 regular season games to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
Welcome to it's Tuesday, Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where we have Liz King in the first hour, and in the second hour, none other than Attorney Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and is internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Currently, she also serves as co-chair and facilitator of the National Commission for Voter Justice, the Millennial Votes Matters convenings, and the Voting Rights Act Alliance. She was the head of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law from February 1989 until June 2015 and holds the honorific title of President Emeritus. Attorney Barbara Arnwine, welcome forward to our show.
It is so good to be here. How are you?
Missing you, Barbara. Let me just share with you in this moment, thinking that Dr. King left us with a question. Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And every day it's like chaos or confusion from the Trump administration. Barbara, help us get back to community.
You know, to get to community, it is true that this period that we're going through is turbulent, it's chaotic, but it's deliberate, everybody. That's what I want everyone to understand. I've been reading this awesome book. In fact, I'm so enthralled by it that I'm going to actually do a book club on it. And this is Without Precedents. It is how Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. What it lays out is that everything we're seeing, as chaotic and crazy looking as it is an agenda. It's a deliberate agenda. Did you have any idea? Because I didn't know. I mean, it's not a new agenda, folks. It goes just like Project 2025. It goes all the way back to the Reagan era. But that's not really how far back it goes. It goes really all the way back to the Confederacy. And this is all part of that neo-Confederacy movement, but also is part of, some of his, Nazi fascism, influence from the 30s. And I want people to be very clear that it is not accidental. It may look like there's accidents happening. It may look chaotic, but that's what their efforts for change look like. They are actually, despite everything happening, they are succeeding with this agenda. And this court, this Roberts Court, has opened the doorways. And folks, if we're talking about the court this week, get ready for next week. Because we're looking for any day now for this court to issue the Calais decision. Everybody's on alert. It is expected this week. And everybody's on alert. Everybody's trying to get ready for it. And what do they always do, Jesse? Come on. What do they always do? When do they release their worst opinions? You know?
In the dead of night, I think, or
And
holidays. Yeah.
Summer recesses.
Just in time to get out of town.
You
and
got
away
it.
from the
You
blowback.
got it. You got it. They know what they do in this road, so they go hiding. And they know where they can't be held accountable, where nobody's going to drag them up before Congress or anything else and try to make them account for themselves.
Barbara,
They
let me ask you.
always do this.
Barbara, let me ask you a quick question. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward.
Yes.
What is the best case scenario that we can get out of Calais, and what is the worst case?
Woo!
And if we have to wait till after we come forward, we can go down that road. We've got 3 minutes, Gina's telling me right now.
Yes. The worst case scenario is that they really severely restrict the Voting Rights Act, and that they say that majority minority districts are unconstitutional. That's the worst case. The best case scenario is that they would do the status quo. They ain't doing that. They made that quite clear. They're not going to do the status quo. The other best case scenario is that they do some kind of tinkering around the edges of the Anderson case from last year, the South Carolina case. That would be kind of like a little bit better, but not good. And that they build in all this kind of deference to the good faith of the existing state legislators.
That'll be the day.
Right.
That'll be the day.
But that's what they're going to talk about. And they're going to try to revive the Mobile versus Bolden case. They're going to try to undo the jingle principles. And they're going to try to come up with an intent standard. Something that looks so close to intent. It looks like it, quacks like it, walks like it. That's what we should expect. That's what they're up to.
The short and skinny is the plaintiffs would have to prove that the legislature at the state level intended to racially discriminate.
That's where they want to go back to. Remember, that was the Bolden standard, and Congress overturned it. But the Jingles, after the Thornburg versus Jingles case, Congress adopted those as what's called the Senate factors. They took the Jingles factors and made them the Senate factors, and said that you do not have to prove intent in order to attack a racial gerrymander. But I think they're going to try to get back to as close to Bolden as they can.
Barbara, we have just a few seconds before we come forward. Does that mean then that state legislatures could reconsider the drawing of congressional districts?
That's what they are hoping for. There's a new report out, everybody, and I'll show it when we come back. There's a major report out from Black Voters Matters. If you haven't seen it, it is a shockingly strong report. And it talks about how 119 current Black seats in state legislatures, not just Congress, but state legislatures, will be affected by this Calais decision.
I'm Jesse